Lily, stop rubbing on the tripod. Jeez. Wait. Hey, it's Sue in the restricted section. Today I'm doing my January wrap-up, and then I'm gonna do like a little February TBR-ish at the end. But I managed to read 7 books this month, which is pretty good for me. But let's get right into it. The first book I read was Operation Cure Boredom by Dan Martin, who is a fellow booktuber. I'll put his channel down below. This is his memoir about his time spent in the Air Force. And Megan and I actually already did a review of this, which I will link down below. And we both really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really funny, really entertaining. Really relatable, even though I've never been in the military and you know, don't have any experience with that at all, but just his experience sort of just being being really young and not really knowing what to do, where he wanted to go in life, and yeah, I think most people can probably relate to that. Next I read A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, and this is the first book in the Earthsea series. I think there's 4 books in the series, and this is about a wizard named Ged. I'm calling him Ged, it's G-E-D, which could be Jed, but Jed makes me think of like a hillbilly sitting on his porch, like playing the jug. You know, it doesn't really scream powerful wizard to me. But so I went with Ged. But he is, from a small boy, it's kind of realized that he has the potential to be like a very powerful wizard, and then he ends up going to this like wizard school, but he gets a little bit too big for his britches, and he releases this darkness into the world that he has to try and rein back in. And this is the first Ursula K. Le Guin I've ever read, and I had pretty high expectations for it because I've just heard such good things about her. And yeah, I was pretty disappointed. It was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars, which for me is like a neutral rating. But it was mostly pretty boring, and like I feel like one of the best things about fantasy novels is like the world building. And I mean, this book is only like 180 pages long, I think, something like that. So I mean, there really wasn't much world building. There wasn't like a whole lot of character development either, I felt. I don't know, I didn't really feel very strongly one way or the other about Ged as a character. I didn't really find myself being immersed in this world at all, but I have the second book. I borrowed both of these from my friend Sean, and I have the second book, which is called The Tomb of Atuan, I think. And I think I will go ahead and read it and see how that goes, and maybe do a review of like both of them together. The second book's about the same size as this one, so it shouldn't take too long to read. But I think that one, it still follows Ged, I think, but I think it's mainly about a different character who's a female, so that could be interesting. But, you know, so far, kind of meh about this one. Then the next book I read, I don't have my copy anymore, I borrowed it from the library, but it was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, you know, classic sci-fi novel, I'm sure you've all heard of it, about a man who, like, his house is about to get demolished, and then his friend comes running to him and is like, hey, we gotta go, the Earth's about to be destroyed, and these alien ships come down and destroy the Earth, but he and his friend escape, and then all kinds of adventures ensue, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was right up my alley with that kind of silly sense of humor, but I will say I was expecting to love it more because so many people just seem to just absolutely love this book so much, and I thought it would just really be my jam, and like I said, I really liked it, but I didn't love it, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I'll probably continue on with the series eventually, but I'm not like running out to get the second book immediately. So the next book I read was this comic book called Charlie, and this is a comic book written by my friend Finus Massey, and also written by Chris Burgess, and it is drawn by Christopher Harris. So this is set in like a futuristic United States where these aliens called the Taurochs have invaded, and the humans and the Taurochs, they fought for a long time, but they've since come to a truce where the Taurochs are now living in the western part of the US, and the humans live in the eastern part. And Charlie is this robot guy, and he is tasked with patrolling the Tauroch zone to sort of keep them in line. This is the first volume, and it is kind of like, it's kind of setting up the story, and oh, my books keep falling. It's kind of setting up the story. So the beginning is like Charlie kind of reminiscing on what has happened, and he's like kind of depressed. He's a suicidal robot. But then some interesting stuff happens. I don't want to give everything away, but I'm pretty excited to get the next issue. I don't know when that's coming out or anything, but this ends on a cliffhanger, so there better be a next issue. But I'll put a link down below where you can purchase this it's on the artist's website. I think it's up in like the right hand corner where you can purchase this if you're interested. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I'm really pumped for the second issue because I think that one's gonna be like more action-packed and really like get into the plot more. And then next I read books for Diversathon, which Megan and I were recording it later today actually. It'll be up by the time you see this video though. But we are doing a Diversathon wrap-up, so we're going to talk about all of these books in that wrap-up, so I'm not going to talk much about them here. But the first book that I read was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. Megan currently has my copy, so I don't have it to show, but this is a book about a girl who starts at a new high school, and she starts dating this guy, and you know, they're really great and everything's great, but she has a secret, and that is that she is transgender. She was born Andrew and transitioned into being Amanda. And I really like this book. I gave it I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars because there was some like cliche high school teen rom-com type stuff in it, but overall I did really enjoy the story, and I do feel like I learned from it and gained some insight, so I would recommend it. And the next book I read was the group book for Diversathon, which was The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This follows a young woman who is a slave on a plantation, and she ends up escaping with another slave there via the Underground Railroad. But in this book, the railroad is perceived as an actual railroad under the ground, like a real train. Again, really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the writing was really great. The story was like heartbreaking in so many ways. My only thing was that, I don't know, toward the end, I kind of started to lose interest. Like, I feel really horrible saying that, but I kind of did, like, toward the end. I don't know if it was just like I got kind of busy around that time too, so maybe it was just like too much going on in my life. But I don't know, I was really motivated throughout most of the book, and then towards the end I just kind of was like not really feeling like picking it up anymore, but I still thought it was a really great story. And then the last book I read this month was a second book in the Xenogenesis trilogy by Octavia Butler, which is called Adulthood Rights. And I won't go too much into the synopsis of that book because I don't want to give, you know, a lot of spoilers if you're interested in reading this. But the series as a whole is a sci-fi series in which nuclear war has ravaged Earth and made it uninhabitable, but these aliens called the Oankali have come down and saved much of humanity and healed them of all of their ailments and kept them asleep for hundreds of years. And then they wake them up, and the goal is to interbreed with the humans and create a new race, but there's resistance there from the humans. And Adulthood Rights, I liked it even more than the first book, which was called Dawn. I gave Adulthood Rights 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was like, I flew through it. I read most of the book in one night, which is not super long. It was like 200 and some pages, but yeah, I thought it was really, really good. super engaging, super interesting, and I'm on the last book called Imago now, and I can't wait to finish the series and see what happens. And then you might recall that I did choose a book out of my TBR jar to read in January. I did not get very far in that book. I actually chose The Man in the Iron Mask, but since that's the third book in the, I think it's called the D'Artagnan Romances series, I decided to first start with the first book, which is The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. And I think I've read like three chapters, so I'm on page 35, but I am really loving it. I just had to put it down because of Diversathon, so I do plan to go ahead and finish this in February. And then for the rest of my February TBR, I plan to read The Art of Asking, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Let People Help by Amanda Palmer. This is actually my book club's pick for this month, or for the month of February, which is awesome because I actually already owned it and planned to read it at some point. If you don't know, Amanda Palmer is, she was the lead singer of the Dresden Dolls. I think she might also have some solo stuff. And her husband is Neil Gaiman, so that's a thing. And I've heard wonderful things about this book, and you know, I think about exactly what it sounds like it's about, so I'm not gonna go too into it, but you know, how she learned to stop worrying and let people help. And then I do want to try to, as I kind of mentioned already, read the third book in this series, which is called Imago, and then also read the second book in the Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin. And then I thought, even though I didn't finish my other TBR jar book yet, I thought I'd go ahead and draw another one for February. Hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter than The Three Musketeers. So, get my TBR jar. Here it is. I had to get a different jar. This was another jar that I just had lying around my house. It's a little bit too small, so hopefully this goes okay. But my cat knocked my other one off my shelf and broke it. She's real sweet. She also just knocked while I was doing my makeup earlier, I had a loose pigment eyeshadow open that I was using, and she knocked it off and spilled almost all of it all over me and the floor. So, she's lovely. Alright. So let's draw one. Okay. I have, The Tent by Margaret Atwood. Let me go grab that book really fast. It is indeed a very short one. Alright, so here it is, The Tent. And this is like really short pieces by her. It's like they're not even short stories, they're just, some of them are like a page and a half long, if that. So yeah, if this is a completely terrible place to start with Margaret Atwood, let me know and I'll choose something else, because I've never read any Margaret Atwood before. But I'm excited to read something by her, so The Tent is what I shall be planning to read, and it is very short. It's only like, it's less than 200 pages. It's only like 150 some pages long, so I'm sure that I can handle that. Alright, so that's going to be it for me. Let me know how your January reading month went. What do you think of the books that I read this month? What do you think of the books I plan on reading next month? And there'll be links down below where you can find myself and Megan other places on the internet. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.